from my computer, but
Yeah,
I
I can.
assure you, this is some fantastic jazz music. It was the weirdest sounding one from the Free Music Archive. So thank you to them. I don't know if I'm supposed to say their name. This is the PK Jazz Collective. The song is Love's Secret. Um, so what a fun way to start our podcast.
I wanna got you, you wanna got me. Something.
All right, that's it. That's enough of the music. So, welcome to the stream. Some people are probably familiar with him. Uh, Most people probably know him as the rookie in OLTP.
I'm an up and comer.
The up and comer. He's gonna be great. Let's hear it for Bright. Yay!
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do today for everyone, this is like our first kind of go around with this podcast, and we're gonna just go ahead and talk about the road to Super Bowl 21. This is for Major League TagPro, the home stretch preview. We got 3 games left. 4 weeks are in the books. And Bright, how are you enjoying the season so far?
It's been really interesting. I think there's been a lot of upsets and like unexpected success from some teams and some unexpected not so good performances, I guess.
Yeah.
It's been very interesting to watch.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. I think there's, like not to toot your horn for you too much, but when you take one of the best players were out of the game, it kind of opens everything up. There was a lot more parity. Not that your team was always expected to win, but you also did a phenomenal job at drafting, scouting talent, and you seem to have your fingers on the pulse of the league. So
Sure, yeah.
anytime somebody's going up against Bright, they know it's you're going to take a lot of luck to get a win. I say this mainly because I boldly challenged you today in a pub and said I was going to win, and then you proceeded to drop 4 caps on us.
I thought we were doomed, honestly, but
Yeah, it was impressive. I was embarrassed. Also, fun fact before we get really into it here. I made a big mistake tonight. I decided I need to go to the grocery store, and I haven't had sushi in a while, and I thought to myself, you know what sounds great? Grocery store sushi.
oh no.
No regrets until 2 hours later. It was not the best night. But I'm feeling a little better. I'm drinking some delicious tea. I got some water. Let's get into this. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about for. If you're following along with me, Bright, we're on slide number 3 right now.
Yep.
This is the season standings.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where we're at right now. This is the actual standings. I like. What are your thoughts? Is this pretty accurate to how you saw the season playing out?
I think most of it is. I had 877 caps now, much lower than this. I think I had them 11th or 12th. They've been way better than I thought they would be.
I agree with that. Like they are my surprise team of the season, and we'll get into them in detail a little bit more later. But that trade for ProTag also was one of the better moves that I've seen so far this season. I thought it was a really good pickup for that squad.
Yep. I think
Uh,
the next most surprising thing is probably the Ball or Nothing implosion, I guess. I think some people thought it like could happen, but it's hard to predict stuff like that.
yeah, and that was to me not the most surprising team of the teams that are at the bottom of the table there. But that did catch me off guard. I didn't think they would be just 1-0-0-7 at this point, and they played
Yeah.
some close games. But also, last week, if I'm not mistaken, Ishii just didn't play, so
Yeah.
that's not great. There's a lot going on there. Hopefully we can get DT on here and get some sweet drama at some point. That would be fun. Yeah, let's take a look at the next one here. So these are the power rankings. This is going to be Bamboozler, and then I put Jamboozler.
I like it.
So I have not. So shout out to Bam, because I did the power rankings last season, and when you have to write something on people and you're really looking at the stats and really going for it, it's a lot of work. So kudos to you. Thank you for taking that torch and running with it, Bam. You've been great this season. But as you see the Jam Boozler rankings, I decided to I keep all the stats and all that stuff I'll release at the end of the season. I'm just not doing a blurb for each team. We have some very different thoughts. What I should have done was asked you to get the Bright Boozler rankings in here as well. But let's talk about Bam's first. Do you agree with his rankings?
Yeah, it looks like they mostly follow just like the standings of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's mostly accurate. I know he had his team really high, which I thought was expected. It might be a little too high.
I shot him an email today because I asked him, I want to get him potentially for next week to discuss everything 877 Caps Now related as well. And I think I opened the email with, "Oh, thanks for taking over the power rankings. You ranked your team 4th. What a travesty." Not that the team's bad. I really like the team, but you know, that was one of the big things when I took the season off. I didn't want to be playing and rank myself. When I was in NLTP a few seasons ago, I covered some other teams. I just never covered our own team because it was kind of weird. But I will say I love that Bam is covering his own team and also super confident in his own team. I think that's awesome. I would totally want him to be my captain because that's amazing. So I differentiated pretty heavily from Bam just in terms of the order. I actually have COA way higher. I have them
Oh
4th.
yeah, I see that.
We'll get into it a little more, and there's good reasons, at least in my opinion, obviously, because I made the rankings for that. But COA is, I guess I don't know if it's COA in general, but like the teams that Goobers played on the past 2 seasons have played very, very well, but they just can't find ways to close out the games. And it's not Goober's fault. I'm just saying, like, he happens to be in the unfortunate situation. Like, Goober's great. Every time somebody plays with Goober, their stats go way, way up. I don't know if people have noticed that the last 2 seasons, but it's true. He's a dominant offensive player as both a teammate and, trying to be the lead player. So he's great. But yeah, the COA teams have struggled because they'll be ahead in a half or doing very well, and then they just end up losing the game. So I have them higher.
I can see that.
I think they're going to make another late push, and Goober's also like hyper competitive, so I see them making a push, and we'll talk about them more. This is Bam's RPI rankings with no OT. I had I kind of like this. I think it's kind of neat. The math behind it is super intense, but I'm also going to cut to the next one, which shows with OT. For me, like the rankings, like the power, I did it a lot last year where I was commenting on the strength of schedule, but then I realized you played about 50% of the league, and unless you played like the bottom 6 teams or the top 6 teams, it feels like everybody's kind of played the same schedule almost. Agree, disagree with that statement?
Last season we played, I think, significantly more than 50%. I think we only didn't play 2 teams, but that's still, it really only mattered for like stats, I guess, because like I think we didn't play like the very bottom team and like the 3rd worst team.
Yeah.
And like it doesn't really affect the standings, but it just affects stats.
Yeah.
But this season there's 2 more teams, so it might have more of an effect.
I saw, yeah, that's actually a very good point. I didn't consider that there's 2 additional teams in majors. There's 12 this season, 10 last season. But if I remember correctly, it was either you or maybe All Caps. They had played literally every single playoff team as their season schedule, and they did pretty well. They were in the playoffs. So if you're saying it wasn't you, then it was definitely All Caps, which I was kind of blown away by. Oh, so let's see. So now next up we have, these are the half adjusted standings, and what the half adjusted standings mean is you take it by each half as if it were a game, as opposed to that. So that's why the ties are in there. And it's kind of a flawed feature because if you're ahead like 14-4, you might give up a couple caps and you don't care.
Yeah.
But it is kind of interesting to look at, especially when you compare it to, which I'm going to put up right now, the side-by-side standings. There's a lot of movement. Rank Thugs jumps to first. ABO drops to second. 877 Caps Now is accurately in fourth place. Bamboozler, you've bamboozled me again. Along with COA, which was my pick.
Oh
So
yeah.
maybe you didn't bamboozle me, Bamboozler. So yeah, there's like a lot of movement, but the big thing, the reason I do this is I often wonder, would that affect the playoff picture? And so far the answer here is no. The same teams would be out.
Oh yeah, the bottom four are like exactly the same.
Right. Bottom four are the same. But there is like, to me, it's a little more interesting just because if every game is worth 3 points or whatever, there's more of a chance to catch up in the bottom.
Hmm.
Whereas if you've kind of started slow, you won't be able to do that. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes. I'm expecting to see your name at the top here. Oh, that's right, you're not playing. Capture leaders. So maybe you can fill me in, but I like
Uh-huh.
Ball Don't Lie as a player. I think he's really good. But every time I say something good about, I write something good about him, inevitably somebody will say, he sucks. It's just like a long, ongoing joke. I think it's hilarious, but he's always playing really, really well.
I'm not sure if it's a joke, but I think the consensus is he's not like a, or he's gonna hate me for saying this, but he's not a superstar player. He's like really, really good, but like not quite like a goober level or like an okay then, but he's like just under that. So I think that's what people say when people say he's like insane.
Yeah,
A lot of people have pushback against that. Like I don't think people would agree he's the number one offensive player, even though he's number one in caps.
I see that. And you see, so this I was hoping to save this for a later podcast, but let's jump into it now. There's different
Mm-hmm.
types of players. I would say like you and Goober are both extremely talented. This is just an example. Extremely talented players, but your style of play is extremely different.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'd agree with that.
and I think the same thing for Ball Don't Lie. I think he is like, I think it's odd. I've only really seen him play for I think 3 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
but his style is very team supportive. Like his teams usually play pretty well. And I know like people were saying there was a span for a while where he just was like never making the playoffs and everyone was making fun of him. But from what I've seen, it's always like, oh, this guy he drafts really well when he's a captain. And like right now, you can see the top two is him and Ballerina. So like this Ballerina's first season in majors, and Ball Don't Lie is really. I always want to say BDL, but then there's a BDL, so it's really
Yeah.
it's really annoying. So Ball Don't Lie in a very different way. I feel like he raises the level of his teammates.
Yeah, definitely. His positive attitude and his comms are probably like he's probably top. He's a superstar in that category, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so I'm not wrong. Any surprises that you see on this list?
I definitely bought in at too, but her team's just like insane this season.
Yeah.
Not surprising she's up there. Uh, Goober surprising me at like 17th. I have some hot takes regarding his team, but
Oh, you want to save it to the?
we'll save it
We'll
first
save
for
it.
his team
Okay,
page.
all right, we'll
Yeah,
get
but
there. We'll get there. I like the
I still
proclamation.
think
Now
he's
everyone's
like
just going to fast forward to the point where we talk about Center of Attention.
are you gonna put like timestamps for each team? I think it's really useful when people just want to like hear their team's like analysis.
Oh, yeah, that's probably a good idea. Yeah, I can go through. I'll scrub it through it and throw some timestamps after it's like uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah, but like the cap leaders is usually just like if you're on a top team,
Yeah,
not like if you're actually a top player, and that's what we see here, I guess.
yeah, for sure. And there are some minor surprises to me, maybe going the other way. The first one is Megatron, who's listed as Olivia High on there.
Hmm.
I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm not
I
100%
think
sure on
that's
the
right.
last name. Okay. And also Protag, because I haven't seen Protag. I've just heard the name. So Protag is, he had a great week last week, so that certainly helped. But I didn't expect him to be at the top of the leaderboard. But mainly, the biggest surprises to me, it kind of feels like I thought Cheetos would do a little more in regards to capping.
Hmm.
And I also thought, you mentioned Goober as well, but I think he's doing like phenomenal job making Shara look even better. Not that Shara is bad, but making Shara's American adjustment rather easy.
Hmm.
Um, I thought Mr. Hat would have a little more, but like that defense kind of struggled. We'll talk about that as well.
Yeah, I streamed all the games, so we'll see.
Yeah. And then another player, well, this will be a good little transition here. Let's see. Maru, aka Okay Then. So he is, as you see, the hold leader.
Hold leader, by the way.
Heck yeah! But he was tied for 9th with 20 caps. So usually when you're the hold leader, you have a bit more caps, and you see Maru and both Gigi and Maru. Gigi was 7th, which is pretty good. With 22, I want to say off the top of my head. We'll say that's
Yeah.
right. Oh, I nailed it. I'm amazing. So yeah, both of them you thought would have maybe a little more caps. And the same thing again. I said Mr. Hat. I was a little surprised, and he's 4th in hold. So it's been a big hold season for a lot of the star players, so to speak.
Hmm.
But the caps just aren't coming, and I'm sure we'll talk about that a bit more when we highlight the individual teams. But any surprises on the hold leaders as far as you see?
I don't think so. Usually, if you're a top player and your team's bad, you don't get a lot of caps, but you can still hold. You might hold even more than usual since you can't cap it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's that many surprises here.
And a player to watch just for fun. I've watched 2 of their games now, but Boats and Holds, Ukilum.
Hmm.
It's not that he holds forever, but like he just has some jukes that are just they're just it makes me say, oh man, like I can't believe he gets out of some of the situations that he's been in. Let's check the defensive leaders. Your boy Max is killing it. I heard you guys are best friends.
I don't know about that, but he's
It was a lie
he's
I
a
made
very
up.
he's a very fun guy, and I think the consensus is he's the best defender in the league, easily. I think.
Yeah, he's killing it this season. His team's in first place or tied for first, depending on how you look at that.
Hmm.
And Doris, who is like a perennial all-star,
Yep.
trails him by 25. Like his return pace is pretty unreal. And I think I read somewhere that it's like the last player to have this type of pace was Hark. So
Wow.
pretty good company. Any surprises on the low end? Actually, one more surprise. Sorry, Wayne.
Hmm.
Wayne missed like pretty much, I think, a full half and then some, if I'm not mistaken.
I think
And
it was like
he's
12 minutes.
yeah, he's missed 12 minutes and he's still 9th on the leaderboard, so that's pretty impressive despite missing a game in a quarter.
Hmm.
Any surprises on the low end
Uh,
or high end?
Usually Cynical's higher. Even if his team does bad, he'll get a lot of stats. But
Mm-hmm.
he's 11th right now.
Yeah, he's also Ping Prisoner. I mean,
Yeah, Ping
nobody
Prisoner.
who doesn't watch TagPro will be watching this, so they know who he is. But yeah, he's usually a little higher. If I'm not mistaken, last season he had some higher returns, but I mean, we'll see in a second. I think he's going to be pretty high in prevent though. That's always been his big thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then a lot of familiar names toward the bottom of the list in the top 20. So good job, boys. Also, Frothy, I knew nothing about him. Having a great season, so crushing it.
For sure.
Or her, I don't know. Is Frothy a?
It's a him.
It's a him. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So prevent leaders. Let's see if I was right. Yeah, there he is. Pink Prisoner, number 2. Oh, and our
There
boy
he is.
Frothy. Oh boy, both the guys I talked about, number 1. So yeah, Frothy's having a monster season. Oh,
Yeah,
Masaki,
Fabi
number
and
3.
Max are an insane defense.
Yeah. Oh, is it Mex is his partner? Yeah. That's
Yep.
like the dream combo when you have a guy who's really, really good at prevent, and then the other guy is really, really good at tagging. There's not
Yep.
a lot you can do against them. So I can see how, yep, that's a very good 1-2 punch. And also, Mex is very good at prevent as well, number 4. So not a lot of getting out on that. Pandora's
Also,
clocking in top 10.
something I found noteworthy was Misaki and Rakshi being top prevent and not a lot of returns, which is usually a good thing. And then they end up being third in the standings,
Yeah.
and they were like a 8 tag coin defense.
Yeah, I actually I commented on that. I did a Rektiles preview last week, and I was really interested to see who would win the game because the type of defense, like Doris is a return heavy player, and then they
Hmm.
were both prevent heavy players. So I didn't have as much time as I really wanted to get in to see what happens when teams actually get out. Do those numbers dip way down? Does it take a long time to get the return? But yeah, it's worked out for the squad so far. Okay, so one of my favorite categories, the pup leaders. But yeah, most of the usual suspects.
Wait, Max at the top?
Yep.
It's actually surprising.
Oh, is he not a?
Like when Hark was playing, when he was on his Hark pace, he got like 50 puffs in the entire season, and Ego got like all of them
Oh wow.
because he would just stay in base and Ego would get the puffs. And I guess it might be flipped this way, like Mex goes and Fati stays, and that's why he has prevent.
Yeah.
But this is surprising.
Yeah, that play style is usually pretty efficient. Usually, you don't see Ping Prisoner toward the top of the list. For that reason, I feel like he kind of stays and locks down base while his partner is supposed to go get pups.
Mm-hmm.
He's number 11 here, though, so what do I know? um, yeah, a lot of interesting names. Ginny is somebody we haven't talked about. He was pretty highly touted by, once again, Bamboozler coming into the season. So yeah, he had pretty heavy power ups. I can't remember if I even saw his name or where I saw his name, I should say. I think looking back, he was 7th on prevent, which is pretty great, and then 6th as the return leader. So he's kind of lived up to the billing that Bamboozler put on him.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. All right. It's time to, we'll take the percentage leaders. These are pretty much the same. So I like putting the percentage leaders up just in case there's people who haven't actually played that many games or they've only played 2 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I left Easy in even though he's only played 1, if I'm not mistaken. But
2 weeks now.
oh, he has played 2. Okay, yeah. Then for that exact reason, like getting 17.9% of pups is pretty dang important for your team, in my opinion. So
Yep.
yeah, and Ty also doing a great job. I thought he might have a little difficulty switching from O to D, but he's put up a pretty solid season so far, and being pup leader on your team is always a nice feather in the cap, so to speak. All right, Bright's bored with pups. Let's talk about Paul or nothing.
Oh boy.
Oh, jeez, he hits him with the oh boy. So yeah, not exactly where they wanted to be so far this season. 1-0-0-7. You can read all that, but if you're listening, 12th place. And then their current roster is DT and CB13 on O. Defense is Ishii question mark Ping Prisoner. Then
I
they're
think
good.
last week they had CB on defense and Neb on offense. And I
Oh,
think Ishii has officially stopped playing for this team.
oh, okay. Yeah, so like there hasn't been any official roster moves put in the Discord or any
Yeah.
announcements, so it's still kind of curious as to what's going to happen. This is a similar situation for CB13. What happened with him last season, where he started on offense and then transitioned back to defense with RHCP, and then that team made a pretty big run in the second half. If they
Very
can
true.
find the right offensive player, um, if they're sticking with Neb, hopefully that'll be it. But if they can find like a kind of an aggressive minors player to help them out, it might be like a bit of a turnaround depending on how dedicated they are to turning this season around.
It's interesting. It's interesting that they released Frozen because last season the team with CB13 on it was not playing Frozen on offense.
Yep.
I feel like that's like good for if you want to play like if your team is like not doing well and you need to like make a rebound, you get like a smart player like Frozen to I don't know just play like way safer than if you were to call up some other minors player. But they
Yeah,
released them. I
I
don't know about that.
I think like if they had known Ishii was going to be out, officially released, they probably would have held on to Frozen. Um, and maybe they'll recall Frozen and maybe he'll be open to coming back. But who knows? Who knows if there's hurt feelings there? Hopefully not. It's just a game, so no big deal. But yeah, I like the CB13 on defense with Ping Prisoner. On paper, seems like a pretty good team. I'm rooting for them to turn it around. Do you think maybe do they need a trade, or do you think there's one particular signing that could really help them?
I think they've been or I've heard talks about them trading ever since like week 2 or something.
Oh wow,
I
yeah,
don't think anything's happened. Like I don't think anyone would want to get cynical. Like it's tough to play with him. He doesn't scrim that much. So in terms of like team spirit, I guess it's not like no one wants to make that trade.
yeah,
So I don't know about that. Like it might even be dropping him for like Neb or something who like wants to scrim a lot more. That might have
yeah.
to be the move, even though it might seem like a worse team. I could actually see it like working out better.
Well, that's the biggest thing I noticed last season was chemistry, and if you don't have chemistry, it's just not going to work. And
Mm-hmm.
one of those instances came last season. I remember I wrote an article that was kind of critical of some of the trades, and it ended up being wrong. Just not because like I think my talent evaluation was correct in the thing, but the chemistry evaluation was way off. So you know, I feel like any team can kind of turn it around if they get the right chemistry. It's all about momentum because the season's so short.
Yeah.
And you see this what they've done so far. Rank Thugs. The season didn't start well. They played like one of the best teams, and they stole one or beat the Rektiles. Then they got swept by 877, and then they played Blockwork Orange. So silver lining here, they've played the top two teams. Like
Mm-hmm.
that kind of accounts for something. It kind of it's like okay, like maybe right now we're not as good as those teams, but maybe that really for this last stretch puts them in a better position to like win some games. I could,
Yeah, I thought even though they lost week 1, they got a split week 2, and that's like pretty much where I had them like around middle of the pack.
mhm.
Like maybe a little bit better than Rektiles, but like around there. But then losing Caps now was like I don't know. I think you should quit after that week. A lot of people expected them to win. I put them in my last man standing to win on Willow.
Oh no.
I thought they were gonna definitely be better than Caps now, but maybe Caps now are just like really good, and then they played Blockwork. So
Yeah.
with like a few changes, they could still be good. Their
Yeah.
schedule looks decently easy from now on.
Yeah, they're
They're playing
playing
like
a bunch of teams that are fighting for pole position in the playoffs. And RHCP is also having a down season. So it's not the most difficult schedule. And when you're fighting teams that are fighting for playoff spots, that means you can pull yourself back into the race if you sweep out. So I wouldn't say it's over for Ball or Nothing.
they could definitely make it into playoffs.
Yeah, and if they get a crafty GM maneuver, maybe something could happen. No pressure, DT. Get it done. I'm not gonna name names, but I'm just gonna say there's somebody on this podcast who is still in rare form, MVP level form. That's
And
right.
Jeremy Jam.
That's Jeremy Jam. If you want an NLTP caliber player on your squad, you call me up, buddy. Oh, so okay, we got next. Let's move on to the number 9 team, RHCP. Uh, kind of a dismal season for them so far, and they just had some moves that became official today. Tantru, Swerve, Arm Branch, and HC, which I think is Horse, if I'm not mistaken.
I think Horse is on COA now, actually.
Oh, really?
I think that's what happened today. Yeah.
So, was there who? So who's not on COA then?
They dropped Yes for Horse.
Oh, wow. So who?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's up with RCP. I don't think there's been anything official from them. I
Oh,
think they're still experimenting.
that's crazy. We'll have to talk about that because that means the COA slot's going to be wrong too. But so they're because I thought, if I'm not mistaken, I thought I had read that Horse or yeah, Very Fast was inactive.
Yeah, he has been dropped for inactivity.
Right, but then they didn't pick up Horse though, or they did.
They did not. I think. Oh wait, it does say they picked up Horse.
Yeah,
No, then they dropped Horse and they picked up Aaron.
oh, so
Like right after that.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So late changes that the jam was
Yes.
not prepared for. Sorry about that. So Aaron K, Aaron K, is that right?
No, it's just Aaron.
Oh, all right.
Aaron.
I don't know. Never heard of him. Okay, so yeah, that seems to me a move to try and shore up the defense. So usually when after talking with a few of these teams, it seems like there's a more logical move for like some of the lower ones, like to make a trade. It
Mm-hmm.
seems like they want defense, the other team needs,
Yeah.
maybe swap defenders, see what happens. But usually that doesn't end up happening. It's kind of a drop in the transfer, so to speak, or a signing of someone. But the odd part is when I read it that if Very Fast, which is Dodd's fall, is like, yeah, I want to play, they can just play him. So they basically have a 5-man roster now, so that's good for them. And their schedule, they started off kind of strong. They beat the best team in the league in overtime.
Wow.
Yeah. And then the second week, they beat Chennai Super Pings. And then things fell apart.
I remember watching that game.
Yeah, I did not watch this game, so I don't know what happened, but they got boat raced by Holdin Gate. And then
They were down like 8-0 within 5 minutes on Willow.
oh, you hate to hear that. That's not great. So the weak part of the team, would you say, at least in that game, would be the defense going back? That would be Arm Branch.
Yeah, it was Armbranch and Dodds that game.
Yeah.
I think that was the problem. I think Tantry might have been lagging that game or something. The
Oh,
offense weren't able to do much
was there a
against Korean
janitor
FK.
involved?
No, I think he's at home now.
Oh, okay.
No more janitors. But yeah, it was grim. But I think some of the problems are still there. I'm not sure the defense is going to be much better. Like Dodds, I don't know. Maybe he wasn't playing his best, but he usually plays very containy,
Yeah.
which is what you want. And I guess Aaron can do that too, but I don't know if it changed much, to be honest.
Well, they have a brutal schedule down the stretch. They've already played the number 1 team. They already played the number 2 team. Now they play the number 3 team, and K-Poppers number
Oh,
5. Then Ball or Nothing, which may, if we just talked about them, maybe they'll turn it around. So, and then Centra of Attention, who I think is kind of an under-celebrated squad as of right now.
yeah.
So, any roster moves you see in their future, or you think they're going to stand pat and just try to ride it out and fight back and get back to the playoffs?
I think they played Rektiles. It was actually kind of close on Rush, especially. Glove is playing pretty well. I think Glove and Swerve might be better than Tantru Swerve, especially if he's lagging, or Tantru is lagging.
Mm-hmm.
And on D, I don't know. I thought Armranch was swiping a lot on D. I think I don't remember how Trippy played. I think he was okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what they could do. I don't think anyone would trade for any of their players. So,
You hate to
yeah,
hear that.
I don't know.
I feel like I wouldn't be like one thing I would like. I like continuity in teams, which is the exact opposite nature of TagPro. But if there was going to be a move, I'd like to see somehow Holdin Gate reunite Curry and Swerve, because I enjoyed that combination from season 20. Just putting it out there. Next up, we got the Smoothie Ping.
Yes.
I made a logo because I couldn't find
Oh
theirs.
my god, it's beautiful.
The mouth is off center, which really bothered me, but I didn't have time to go back and fix it.
It adds to the charm.
It does add to the charm. So we got GGA as captaining. Is this his first time captaining?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and he's got the team he drafted, Sunchips, his offensive partner, and then we got Sevens on Pandora on defense. They're in 10th place, though. 3-0-0-5, so not out of the mix, so to speak, but I was a little surprised. I thought they'd be a bit higher up at this point in the season.
Yeah, I pretty much told GG he couldn't get Sunchips Panda because it would be too expensive, but then he got them, so I thought they'd be really good.
Mm-hmm.
But it hasn't been that.
So I've only watched one of their games. What is you're friends with the majority of these guys, so I'm not trying to put you on the spot too much, but where's the what's the issue going on? Is there just no chemistry? Is it just bad luck?
What I thought would be the problem before the season is that Panda and Sevens are super prevent heavy, but they're not that good at chasing. I haven't seen a lot of games, but I think that is what the problem is right now, at least on the defensive side.
Yeah.
And Sunchips and GG, I think they've been okay, but they still are. I think Sunchips might be making more mistakes. He hasn't played in a really long time, and he's really grinding to get better. But I think right now it's still kind of tough.
Yeah, I think when they picked up Sunchips, to me that was like an investment pick, meaning he's not going to be great weeks 1 through 4. He'll have those moments where he's great, but he's going to make mistakes. But they're hedging their bets that he will be good by end of the season, playoffs. He's going to be in top form. That's kind of the hope, the dream.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I noticed I wrote at midseason that they were bad at getting pups, but when we were looking at I don't know if that's true, because like when we were looking at the pup leaderboards, so to speak, I'm gonna go back and take another look.
Oh yeah, only Sunchips is in the top 20.
Yeah, Sunchips, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Pandora may have been 21. Off the top of my head, I'm not 100% positive, but yeah, I think that's probably an issue too. I think they're holding a lot, but if they're out chasing, they're not getting pups, and if they're holding a lot, they don't have the opportunity to get the pups as much either. So it could put them at kind of disadvantage, especially if the other team's getting lots of tag pros or jukes. Put you in a awkward position, so to speak. Their schedule so far hasn't even really been that bad, to be honest. Rektiles, 877 caps now, like both at 500. Blockwork Orange was, top team in the league. And then Chennai Super Pings, who I'm not super high on personally. We'll talk about them next. So I'm not trying to bury anybody here. I think they're a good team, but if you were going to be a legitimate team that people were scared of, that felt like a team you needed to sweep would be Chennai Super Pings.
Yeah, I would agree.
And they've kind of split every week, so I'm sure it's been pretty frustrating. Do you think there's what adjustments need to happen for Smoothie Ping?
I don't know specific. I think they just have to play more together. Like week 4 Sevens couldn't make it, so that it's another week they aren't playing together on defense. They had fly-in, I think. And it worked out kind of well, but I think they definitely needed to sweep Chennai if they wanted to. Now it's going to be tough for them to make playoffs.
Yeah,
they're going to have to play really well to do it.
Yeah, and I like you said, their line, the closing stretch for them is kind of brutal. Like Centra of Attention, say what you will, but usually when Goober and Wayne are coming off of a loss like they did last week, they come out pretty aggressive. So it's going to be a pretty big test for Smoothie Ping if they really want to show up. K-Poppers we'll talk about later, but currently the number 3 team, so that's not great. And then Ball or Nothing, who knows what they're going to be by week 7. If the trend continues, Smoothie Ping will probably think, okay, at least there's 2 wins there. But if they reverse everything, then that's going to be a bit of a dogfight for probably like one of the last spots in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Now, the team I like, because this logo is fantastic, the Chennai Super Pings. 9th place right now, so just out of the playoffs. Intercess Selfie Syntax on offense, C-Bivy Waterwheel on defense. They traded ProTag, and they acquired and released Glob. And then I should have also noted after they released Glob, that's when they signed Selfie.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. They kind of traded ProTag for nothing and just picked up Selfie.
Yeah.
They could have just dropped ProTag, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure the reasoning behind it.
I'm not sure. I mean, maybe ProTag wanted to, or 877 Caps now wanted to get ProTag. So I'm not sure what the rationale was. Like you said, the tag coins don't matter at this point.
Yeah.
But again, if it's a chemistry issue, Selfie Syntax and Intercest, maybe that's the turnaround. Intercest is an older name, to me at least. He had kind of stopped playing right when I started playing.
Mm-hmm.
So he's back. And if I'm not mistaken, though, didn't he used to play defense?
He played defense for like 1 season. He was always like, he's like really good at O, and then if you needed him to play D, he'd be really good at D.
Okay.
So then, yeah, but he's coming off of like 5 or 6 seasons of not playing.
Yeah. So this team's a bunch of, with the exception of Selfie, when it was ProTag, it felt like a bunch of guys coming back. It's like your dad and all their buddies decided to get the band back together, you know? We're like, we got one more run in this, boys. Let's do this. So I was kind of
Yeah, I
rooting
think they're
for
all
them.
friends. I think they're all friends too, like in
Oh,
real
really?
life or
Yeah.
something. Or most of them, yeah.
Yeah, I would totally. That's pretty hilarious that they traded ProTag. They're all friends, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't like you anymore. You're out." But yeah, I've been rooting for this team for that reason. I think it's a pretty fun squad, and it just kind of reminds me. It's almost like if you had this team 5 years ago, people would have been like, "This team is so unfair." So, but now they've come back down to earth. Their schedule so far has not been too brutal. K-Poppers they split with, so an impressive win there. RHCP another split. Swept by COA, but close games.
Yeah.
And then they were able to split with Smoothie Ping, so they're doing a lot of what most teams are doing, where it's just like, all right, we can get one here, we can get one there.
Yeah,
They're
they're
just kind of
splitting with the
grinding right
other.
now. Yeah. And one of these
Splitting with
was
the
an
other
OT
low-level team.
loss. Sorry about that.
That's fine. Which one was OT loss?
Oh, you got me there. I was hoping you wouldn't ask the question.
Sorry.
I can look it up really quick though.
It's not a big deal.
I
I
think
think it
it
was
was.
against COA.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I believe it was with COA, but I can check my sheet real quick.
Oh, their schedule is pretty hard too. Going
Yeah,
forward.
the tail end of the schedule is kind of brutal. They also didn't have an EU in the first week, so that was annoying. Yeah, I think so. It was week 1, week 2, and then week 3. No, week 3 looked kind of clean. Oh, I'm not sure. I guess I didn't notate it properly. Yeah, I'm not sure. So we'll move on. But yeah, the rest of there's, the number 1 team, Blockwork. Holdin Gate has been just absolutely on fire recently.
Yeah.
I'm starting to believe that's the Curry MO, where you just start slowly and then you just make a huge second half push. And then Rektiles are right in the middle of the pack as well. Now, this is the team I've been waiting to talk about. Centra of Attention. So
Here we go.
pay no attention to my lineups because apparently they're wrong. They're 3-1-0-4, 8th place. We got Goober and Cher on offense. That's correct. And then
Yep.
Wayne on defense, and I'm being told now by you, Horse on
Yep.
defense as well. So that means Yes has been dropped. So top tier free agent available for others, or maybe not top tier, but a solid majors player who
Whoa.
was on a fantastic team last season. Hey man, if you got dropped, I can't say you're top tier. uh, I actually really like Yes. I thought he was dominant last season. So that news, if you go back and
Yeah.
listen to this, now that I've trash talked him by mistake, I was pretty surprised to hear that he was dropped.
Yeah, I thought Video Yes would be similar to Wayne Yes. I guess not.
Yeah. Not sure where the chemistry issues fell off there, but if they need to make a change. But I mean, I feel like that's good news for any of those bottom teams who might be trying to shake up their defense. Yes feels like
Oh
he
yeah.
could be a solid player. I'm not going to suggest teams because that would be rude. Then everybody would say, Jam, you're a jerk. So I'm not going to do it.
They know who they are.
They know who they are. I'm not going to name names. I kind of want to cough and name a name, but then I thought about it like 3 times, and I'm not going to do that. So the schedule for COA, they've had a pretty difficult schedule, I would say. The
Yeah.
surprising 877 Caps now, they swept them. They got swept by Blockwork Orange, but you look at those games, they're very close.
Yep.
Chennai Super Pings, they won those games, but also they're very close. Like that was kind of surprising to me. So maybe Chennai is a little better than I think. And then against Holdin Gate Warriors, again, they lost, but the games were close. At least one of the games was super close. Then they have like a pretty, I would say, a relatively middle tier schedule for the rest of the way. At least
I'd
in
say
terms
this
of
is a
rankings.
pretty easy schedule.
Yeah, I think this feels like it should be on paper right now.
Mm-hmm.
They should win at least 4 of these.
Yeah. I think they definitely make playoffs.
I'd be surprised if they didn't. And you saw
Yeah.
my power rankings had them way higher. They were number 4 for me.
Mm-hmm.
I also think, Wayne, Goober, they're just big game players. They are what they are. Shara is a European legend, from what I've told. I actually never heard of him until this season, but he's a dominator apparently, and he's having a great season so far. And then Horse is the new addition, so we'll see how he blends in. But now, this is the most important part of the podcast. You promised us a bombshell, and now
That's something you forget.
no, we're cashing in.
I think this is not the bombshell yet, but I think the Horse Edition is really good. He's like number 7 on TPM leaderboards.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing like a majors player, so I think that's a good addition. And then here's the kicker. I think Shara, no flame, of course. I think Shara has to be dropped.
Oh,
I
wow.
think yeah. I'll explain. So I think Goober. I was playing with him in TPM. I've seen him in scrims. He's playing like as good as he always does.
Yeah.
But then you look at his stats and you're like, what is going on there? Then I believe the reason is that he has to support Shara a lot more. Like from what I've seen, Shara, he's getting like all the caps, so it's something like Goober last season. Like Tantru got like, I think he had the same amount of caps as Goober, but like if you watch the game, it'll be like Goober botting everyone like he always does, and then they get a quick grab out, and then they'll be past 2. And I think that's happening a lot more this season. Like Shara isn't going to be able to do that for Goober because he just can't on like, I don't know, 120 ping maybe.
Yeah.
And I think Goober and Wayne have enough game sense, or like they know how to play the game. Like even though Shara's like, he's a Ball of Fame player, like one of the greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's gonna bring a lot of strategy that they don't like already know.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't think he fits well with this team. Like maybe, I don't know, a team with like inexperienced players that are like becoming good, he would be a better fit.
Would you drop him for, say, like Frozen?
Actually, yeah, that's a That's a good pick. I think Frozen is similar to Share though, I think Frozen has like 80 something ping. But I was thinking, I'm not sure if they could drop them for I don't know a specific player that they could pick up that would be better. But I was thinking that might be the reason they're struggling. Just like Guber can't get out, he's like supporting Share too much. But yeah,
Interesting.
that's it.
Yeah, that is a hot take. Because Cher's numbers are pretty incredible, but I mentioned that at the top of whatever, like if this is a podcast or a video cast, I mentioned that Goober is kind of an unsung hero for his teammates. He always makes their numbers better. Tantru had 50 caps last season.
Yep.
Right now, I believe he has, I want to say 15.
Yeah, he's like 18th or something.
Is he 18th? Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go back because I don't want to put he has 16. Okay, thank you. I don't want to say the wrong number and then,
Yeah.
Jam, you hate me. No. But those numbers, that's a significant dip. Like we're over halfway through the season. He had 50 last season. He's not even on pace for 30 right now.
Yeah.
And Goober also that season, I believe he had 50 himself. So
yeah, he's up there.
Yeah, so like Tantru is, an equally, like you're saying, a very intelligent player, and he's able to do some of those support moves to help Goober as well. So if he's not getting that support on his side, that's a problem, and it's not gonna really hurt you as much in the regular season, in my opinion. But once you jump into the postseason, that's when you're gonna notice it. When like you need Goober to do the super Goober play, but he doesn't have the support for it. That's gonna be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So your hot take is well received by Jam.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm not the only one who matters. It's everyone else who's going to come after you.
That's all I cared about.
Okay, great. Yeah, I trust your opinion. I haven't watched much of COA this season, so it's been all kind of word of mouth and reputation. And any team, like I said, with Wayne Goober, I'm going to pick them to be in the playoffs, and they're going to be a threat to win it because
Yeah, for sure.
It's just a legendary combination. It's like peanut butter and marshmallows. We got boats and holds up next. Ooh. This is, going to start a series of 4-0-0-4 teams. They're currently in 7th place by Capdiff. They got Mr. Hat on offense. He's the captain. Killam his partner. CCGA4. What a bum, right? Jeez.
Love that guy.
Griff on defense. I'm a big CC fan, but I think it's because you were one of the people who kind of trained me to be a good TagPro player or a better TagPro player. And you told me early on that CC is very, very good. And I've never thought anything otherwise. I'm like, no, he's good. He's right. But when commentating their game a few weeks back, CC did have a few not head scratching moments, but it was just like, oh, he's a bit rusty right now.
Yeah, for sure.
He's gonna have to work through that. I think I think Hat selected everybody on this team had at least a season off, if not more.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, Griff's look good. He had a breakout season 19. Only took one season off, and he's back, and he's. Oh, that's right. I always say that. Sorry. And then I did a horrible Scottish impression.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, Griff. I apologize. But yeah, Griff's been very, very good. And I'll explain why I'm always thinking it. I had a buddy growing up named Griff. So
really?
His last name was Griffin. So it was shortened to Griff. It wasn't with the Y, but anytime I see that name, that's the first thing that pops into my head is the kid I knew. So
Nice.
Apologies, Griff. I hope to not call you a man again. Yeah, but she's been pretty phenomenal for this season. I would say more of the defensive anchor for them, but they've they've struggled to keep it in at times. Take a look at their schedule here so you can see I'm not lying. They beat Holden Gate Warriors. That's a weird.
That was before the big switch.
Yeah. They won 2-1 on that one. It looks like a 7 to me, but it should be a 1. Yeah. They won 2-1 there and then 7-2. Yeah, and then the losses to the number 1 team, split with Rektiles, and then with 8-7-7 Caps now, they got a win. They split, but that 15-5 loss is just like, whoa, what's going on here? And they struggled both weeks on Rush. So to me, this looks like a playoff team, and that looks like a big circled map that they are going to immediately say no to every single time.
Yeah, Emerald was we're always going to lose on it. Just ban it.
Oh, really?
Rush is theirs. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's the only map we lost on, I think, last season.
In overtime.
Yes.
Man, that was such an embarrassing loss. Jeez. So the rest of their schedule actually is kind of a mixed bag. Ball or Nothing, right now Ball or Nothing is kind of down on their luck as we discussed. So unless they do something drastic, Boats and Holds has to be a bit confident coming into that one.
They have to sweep that week, I think.
Yeah. And then COA, it's another one we discussed. Like, these look like this is a playoff preview, week 6 for me.
Yeah.
But the risk with that is if Boats and Hold loses that, then they have to play K-Poppers, and potentially, depending how the bottom of the table looks, they might be borderline out of the playoffs, because right now there's just a big cluster of 4-4 teams, and the other teams are, with 3 wins right behind them. So it's not a sure thing for Boats and Holds. And also, like, we should probably talk about MVPs at some point. But I thought, just from watching the 2 games I've seen, Hat's been playing pretty dang well.
Yeah, he's holding for days.
Yeah.
And you'd have a lot more caps, but they keep messing up like some in-base blocks. They're like 1 block away from capping them.
Yeah. But do you think this team makes the playoffs, at least as of right now?
I think they'll make the playoffs for sure. I think they're better than the like bottom 4 teams right now. They could still like not get in playoffs because they don't play, or they play one of them, I guess. But
yeah,
like if they're unlucky, if they get swept the last 2 weeks, I think they would miss it potentially.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think they're improving. I think they scrim a lot. CC, Ukilum, Griff, they're all playing a lot. So and I think if Hat keeps playing well, I think they'll be good.
There's no move on the horizon then?
I don't think so. I think there are potential trades going on, or like maybe, but I don't think Hat was going to do any of them, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this team, I mean, again, chemistry is kind of important. These guys all seem like they're friends.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like, if it were me, I would just say, that's fine. Like, we're playing for the playoffs. Like, to me, there's no benefit at least in TagPro, and there's no reward, there's no money or anything. So having a good regular season doesn't mean anything. You want to, of course, but everything that's important is the playoff push and a championship.
Yeah, I think as long as they get good before the playoffs, if they're the best team during the playoffs, they might have to play a harder schedule, but they can still win everything.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So let's talk about the Rektiles. I kind of like this squad. They also didn't have a logo, so I just threw one together.
So clean.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome, Rektiles. 4004, 6th place. Dragon Beast first is their current offense, along with Doris, the captain, and Ego on defense. They released CB13, signed first. Do you like that move?
I think so. I think having Ego on defense is significantly better than having him on O.
Yeah.
And then the first CB, I think, is similar, actually. So I think it's a really good move.
So CB playing defense though?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think like first on O versus CB on D. I think they're similar, or like similar value, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like this squad. Any squad with Doris. I think Doris is really really good. Ego was one of those guys that when I was coming up, I would be like, man, I'm not going to be as good as him. Turns out I was wrong. I'm amazing. Just kidding. You're better than me, Ego. I just wanted to toot my own horn for a second. And yeah, Dragon Beast had a monster year last year. His caps are a bit down. And then First was a really good signing. I really liked First last season of Minors, and I was excited to see him get a chance here at Majors, especially for a team that's actually like making a playoff push.
Mm-hmm.
So checking their schedules, split with Smoothie Ping, split with Ball or Nothing. That's kind of not necessarily the black mark. Ball or Nothing was still a composed unit at that time, but if they end up missing the playoffs by a game, that's one that they're going to regret. Split with Bolts and Holds, and split with K-Poppers. So rest of the season, I'm seeing splits. Should have made their logo a banana.
Yeah, I actually noticed they got like splits every week. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. It feels like they're playing teams of their caliber, and I thought K-Poppers might sweep them, but then when I actually did the preview, I kind of looked at the team on paper and I was like, no, I really like the Rektiles team. Like, I feel like it could go the other way too. So I'm not sure. I think like their big test will be week 7. I could see
That's gonna be a
them.
tough one.
Yeah, I can see them splitting out the rest of the season with the other teams. But I could
Mm-hmm.
also see them sweeping the rest of the season with the other teams until they play ranked thugs. So this is like the most interesting team in the league to me because I'm not quite sure how good they are or what their level of competition is.
I think the Dragon Beast first offense has been pretty good, and then I think the Doris Ego defense is gonna be really good. So I think I see them doing pretty well weeks 5, 6. I'm not sure if it's gonna be a double sweep, but something along those lines. And I think
Yeah.
even though they probably will get swept by ranked thugs, they'd still be top 6
Yeah.
in the league.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could see it happening. But let's move on to our favorite squad, the Bamboozler put together. 877 caps now. Bam captaining on offense. Pro Tag his O partner. Ginny is defensive partner, and Spork his other defensive. Well, Ginny and Spork are defensive partners. Then they're in 6th place, another 4-0-0-4 team. Also traded away Glob to acquire Pro Tag. I like the trade. I thought it was good. I like Pro Tag, and it seems like he's a pretty good fit for this team and kind of boosted me from thinking, yeah, they're overperforming to, oh, okay, like they're solid all the way around.
Yeah, I think Pro Tag would be an upgrade over Glob. And I think everyone on this team is like super aggressive. Or like I think that's how you would describe their playstyle.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a good fit, but it could also end up being bad if they play like a severely better team.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see when they square up against more difficult teams how they'll do. Ginny, we talked about a little earlier, has had a pretty solid season overall as like the lead defender. I was kind of surprised to see Spork commit to playing defense this season, but it seems to have worked out for them. I mean, we'll take a look at the schedule here. They did get swept to start the season, but since then, they've been doing pretty dang well. They're 4-2 since week 1. But their level of opponents, I don't think has been the absolute top tier like most of these teams. Smoothie Ping and Ball or Nothing are in the bottom 4, and Boats and Hold is like kind of tied with them right in the middle, and they ended up splitting with them. So
Mm-hmm.
I think this next week is actually a really important week for 877. Like, I'm kind of down, I guess, on on this team just because like I was so high on like GG and Bamboozler's team last season. I was like, no, they're gonna win, and I talked my, and now I think I'm having like not buyer's remorse, but I'm just kind of like, oh, you guys hose me. But Rektiles, we just talked about them, another really good squad. Probably a more disciplined defense, I would say, for Rektiles.
Yep.
So it should be a pretty interesting matchup. Pretty close to game of the week, if you ask me, based off what we've seen so far. And then the rest of their schedule is, it doesn't get easier from there. Like every team is currently slightly better. Holdin Gate is red hot right now, and a Blockwork Orange is the best or second best team in the league. So
That's a really tough schedule.
yeah, it's a brutal, especially when you're fighting for a playoff spot at 4-4. You would think at a minimum they got to win 2 of those games, if not 3. So it's going to be a pretty big test for the Cap Now boys. Do you think they do it? Do you think they're in there?
I think they make it, yeah. Not sure what seed they'd get. I don't think it'd be very high, but I think they make it.
Yeah, I like the team, but just for the sake of fun, I will bet you $1 they do not.
Really?
Yeah, one whole doll hair.
I'll take that.
Ooh, all right. It's an official bet. It's live. And now the team I just talked about said how red hot they are. Also 4-0-4. 4th place, we got Easy on offense, Kobe Bryant on defense or on offense as well.
Rip.
R.I.P. Cobes. Curry captaining on defense, and FK or Fakest on as his partner. They tried Raymond 53 and Iblis. It just didn't work out before signing Easy and Kobe. What are your thoughts on the moves? What are your thoughts on the team? What's your thoughts on their future?
Yeah, their signings were actually insane. Like they go 0-4 to 4-0 these last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Easy has been like, I don't even know when this happened, but he's insane right now. He's like the strongest ball on the map at all times. He's like, well, actually I think his elo dropped in TPM, but he was like top 3 or something. Is unbelievable. And then FK has been really good. He's been like top minors for a while, or I don't know, like 2 seasons. He's only played like 2 seasons. And yeah, I guess with Curry supporting him, that's a really good defense. It's kind of scary. Even if they're not like, he went for 0, got called up from minors, it's still like a pretty scary defense to go up against.
Yeah. I mean, having Curry by your side certainly helps.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Curry's a pretty amazing player. Same with BDL, aka Kobe. And BDL hasn't played for a while, right? This is kind of a
Yeah, he's just naturally gifted.
yeah.
I don't know how he does it. He comes back after like 3 months, and the first day he's already good again.
Oh, it's Hark. He's smurfing. That's grief seeds, guys.
Open your eyes.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about Easy recently, not only from you, but from others, mainly because I think the ELO and TagPro has kind of made more people say, oh, I don't know if they're overvaluing it, but people who are high on the ELO, people are like, oh, yeah, that means they're really, really good. And
I think
maybe
it
it's,
helps you notice, like, I wouldn't even have like considered Easy good player, but now that his elo's that high, you're like, wait, and you like actually watch him play, and you see he's
yeah,
actually playing well. He plays super smart now.
yep. I don't like to brag. I haven't played 10 games, but I believe I am 4-3 right now.
Whoa.
And 3 of those games I played like when I was super tired the first night, and I lost all 3. And I was like, all right. So I'm kind of a hero. I don't like to brag. I like the squad. They've had, so the teams they lost to, you're like, okay, like Boats and Hold swept them. And this is before the big moves. And then K-Poppers swept them too. But most of those games were close, like 2 or 3 point games. 1 point loss, 2 point loss, and a 3 point loss. Not the end of the world. But then they switch over to RHCP, And like RHCP has been struggling this season as well, but like with the new team members, they come out and just blast them out of the building. So,
Yeah.
and then I think going into the Centra game, I thought personally their best case situation was stealing one and getting us,
Hmm.
we're going 1-1, and they just came out and swept. So
That was
this,
super surprising.
yeah, it's the Curry mantra. He will start slow and then finish strong. But they're gonna have to prove that down the stretch. Like, there's no rest for the wicked here. They play ranked thugs, so the number one or number two team, depending how you view it.
Yeah, this is a must-see matchup.
Yeah, pretty big game this week. Then 877 Caps now. So should they lose, like basically every game is super important for the rest of their schedule, because if they upset rank thugs, I would say it's an upset at least. Say they sweep them,
Yep.
there's not a lot of pressure on 877 Caps now game. They can do whatever.
Yeah.
But if they do lose or if they get swept, that's a huge different story. They have to win pretty much every game
Hmm.
to be assured a shot of the playoffs. I like this team. I think they're getting in. Um, what are your thoughts?
I think so. Yeah. I don't see them losing to 877 Caps or Chennai. Probably ranked thugs, but they probably keep it very close.
Yeah, that's the game I'm the most curious about, because I think Rank Thugs is one of the more complete teams.
Yeah.
So if they beat them, Holden Gate's way better than I thought. But if they lose to them, and it's close, it's like, oh, okay, it's kind of. I'll make a weird football analogy here. Like when the Patriots that season, they went 16-0. They played the Giants in the last week and they beat them, but the Giants kept
Hmm.
the game close. So when they played each other again in the Super Bowl, the Giants were like, yeah, no, this team's not as good as everyone thinks they are, and they ended up winning. So if you can't tell, I'm from New York. I'm a Giants fan. It was great. No regrets. Favorite logo in the game, K-Poppers. Big fan of this logo. Big fan of the team. Third place, 4-1-0-3. We got Megatron as the captain. Cheetos Rule as his offensive partner. Then Misaki and Rakji on defense. I like this squad.
Yep. I think I'm not sure where I had them, but I don't think it's very high. I think they've been playing pretty well.
I think they've been playing pretty well. I was kind of surprised after the draft. I said, "Oh, I really like this squad," and I said, "Well, who's playing O? Is it Misaki?" And they were like, "No, it's Cheetos." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize he was switching for the season." It made me like them a little less at the time, but I think like he has I don't know how to say it, like the third ball instincts to stick around, make those plays. He has that defensive mentality.
Hmm.
So I think that's probably helped them in situations. This defense is very prevent heavy, but when they do get out, I feel like there's not a lot of like returns if you look at their numbers for Masaki and Rakji.
Hmm.
So it's an interesting team to watch down the stretch. Of all the teams, this is the team I think could slip up depending on who they end up having to play. And we'll take a look at
Yeah.
that now. But they don't really have like this schedule is middle tier again, like not one of the more difficult schedules down the stretch. So I would be pretty stunned if they didn't make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, I think they did pretty well in the middle 3 weeks
Yeah,
to go 3-3 pretty much against really good teams. They
yeah,
probably make playoffs, but they are only like 2 wins ahead of like 10th place or something. So they could still lose, but I think they've been playing really well. I don't see them doing it, but it still could happen, I guess.
yeah. I mean, technically it's a 5-win team because of
Yeah.
the OT win, and they did beat ranked thugs. So it's the only loss on ranked thug schedule. Like that's the hardest team they've played. Holdin Gate was not Holdin Gate that is currently assembled when they played them.
Hmm.
But everyone else feels like they're going to be ranked, you know, fifth or lower, maybe fourth or lower in the power rankings that they've played. So I think they'll make the playoffs. But my question is, are you scared of this team in the playoffs?
True.
Yeah. We'll save that question for another time. Let's pull in the rank thugs. Let's talk about these jokers, if you will. 7010, second place, offensive Maru, aka OK Then. He was the prelim pick. And Pulpo, and Pulpo is his offensive partner. Then defense is Grumpy and Ty. Who is the captain of this team then?
Messi.
Oh, Messi?
Yep.
He's not playing? Or is he playing
Nope.
minors? Interesting.
He has a lag at home, so he didn't want to play.
Oh, interesting. Does he give him like inspirational speeches?
I think he's around when they stream like all the time, so I think he's been a good presence.
Interesting, yeah. I like that. He's being like a team owner. I'm into it. I don't know what this is. Is this like a Sopranos picture? I don't.
I think so, yeah.
Is it?
I
Okay.
have no idea what the reference is, but I think they said it was The Sopranos.
Yeah, I get the. Okay, I could tell based off of like some of the stuff that it was.
I couldn't tell you.
Sopranos. Well, ranked thugs. Obviously, the pun is ranked pugs, right? I'm assuming.
Yep.
Yeah. So clever, clever, clever. They've been kind of world beaters so far this year. Pulled the schedule up. Destroyed Ball or Nothing. Destroyed Boats and Holds. Beat K-Poppers. Actually, very tough games against K-Poppers, and then destroyed RHCP the second game, but played them pretty tightly the first game. Are they as good as advertised?
I think if I recall, Kevin said they were lagging when they lost to K-Poppers.
Oh,
Not sure if that's true or not, but I definitely see it being true because their team, I just think they're really good. I think Popo lags on Sphere, but even like Akira and Ty Grumpy, they're just like really, really good. Grumpy was an underspend at like 17. He was probably worth like 30 or 40 or something.
Yeah, I love
He's
Grumpy.
just insane.
Yeah.
I think, I'm not sure what you had them. I think you might have had them number 2, but I think Bam had them number 1, and I think if they were to play, we'll see week 6. I think I might have them over Blockwork.
Oh, how dare you? How dare. This is the second dollar bet I'm making on this podcast now. Don't fail me. Actually, do fail me, boys. Rank thugs, fail me. I need you to lose now. Yeah, I really like this team as well. Okay, then is great. You know, Pulpo's a perfect second ball. I always say second ball. There's a lot of different ways to define what a second ball is to me. He's like a hyper aggressive grabber, but I just like okay then seems to be the primary player on the team. But regardless, Pulpo is like in a role that is perfect for Pulpo, and he's excelling this season as he did last season with Holden Gate. Ty's had a phenomenal season as well. I didn't expect that personally, but I don't really know much about Ty. And
I could see him doing well. I thought, or like whenever he'd play D, like just like in ranked pugs, I guess, because he didn't play defense like for a season, he was like really hard to juke. So I think that's like the most important aspect. So I thought him, even if he's the primary defender, I think he would have been good, just because he's like mechanically really good at defense.
yeah, I would agree with that. And then Grumpy, I think I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I was the first person who was announcing Grumpy as a really good player. I've been calling him really good for like 3 seasons now. Grumpy would not disagree with you. I'd hope. I'm just taking credit because Grumpy is the first person whose TagPro skills I have accurately said that he was good, and then it turned out he was. I was like, yes, I've done it. Finally, Grumpy.
Yeah, I didn't know how good he was after the Region Wars. I was like, I didn't realize how good he was until after the Region Wars win. He played so well. Him and
Yeah.
Bam on defense is actually insane.
Yeah, he's great. Give this boy the MVP. It's unfortunate that is he eligible for Rookie of the Season? Because
No, I think he played
do you play
a
all of
lot
them?
last season. Not all of it, but like maybe half of it.
Was he? Yeah, because he was a call up for. Yeah, he was a call up. Yeah, but if I don't know, like in baseball, it's kind of weird. You can play half a season and then they're like, no, 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 you're still a rookie. So If that were the rule, Grumpy would be my rookie of the season. So
Definitely.
love you, Grumps. Finally, last but not least, number one in the rankings, a Blockwork Orange, 7010, same as Rank Thugs, but they're in first place. Ball Arena, Ball Don't Lie offense, the Captain Mex, and then Frothy on defense. We've talked about them a little bit before, but I don't know. I really like this team. I think they're really, really good.
Yeah, they are very, very good. I played them in the Masters with like my God squad, and we like won an OT. It was like super tight.
Yeah, they've had so far, like, it's not been the most difficult schedule, and they really, like, I don't know. I think this team definitely finishes, in my opinion, first or second by end of the season, at least in terms of standings.
Yeah, definitely.
The biggest surprise was the week one. They were still kind of feeling each other out, and they lost to RHCP in OT, which is one of RHCP's only wins. So that was a shocker. It would be like Manchester United losing to Brimsley. Yeah, there's not like I can't say. I mean, I think we touched on them a lot earlier, but their offense is 1 and 2 in caps. Their hold isn't as high, but that's because they're capping a lot,
Yeah.
so they don't need to be holding that much. And then the defense is insane at prevent. I think it was like 1 and 4, and
Yep.
then Mex is just leading the league in tags. So there's really like it's really hard when you look at the team to say who's the weak link here, you know, because I don't see one. Would you
Yeah,
say?
I think them and Ranked Thugs don't really have any weak links.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. And that's why I like that matchup in week 6 that you highlighted is going to be super, super interesting. I think it's going to come down to who has the better. I don't know. I kind of want to announce that game. Hopefully, we'll see. We'll see if I'm lucky. Yeah, I don't see any weaknesses. Is this a championship team? Do you expect to see them in the finals?
Yeah, definitely. I think they're at worst the number 2 team.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty interesting. Ballerina probably going to win Rookie of the Season.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mex's defense is just insane, and I just think would this be Baldo Lie's second super win if he got it? Do you know?
Yep.
Yeah, going for number 2. I don't know about how many Mex has, if any, but
Nope.
oh, he doesn't have one. Wow, that's
Nope.
surprising. He's definitely in pole position to get one this season, and I'm looking forward to it. I do want to jump back because we didn't really talk about the rest of the schedule. This is for Rank Thugs. So I'm gonna fade out because they got a really difficult rest of their schedule. Like, they're playing Holden Gate, who is number 4, and just absolutely surging right now. So like a huge matchup for Holden Gate. Probably more feels like a bigger matchup for Holden Gate than it does for Rank Thugs, just because of those standings. But then the big one is versus Blockwork Orange. So you see, like, maybe potentially if Holden Gate comes in throwing haymakers and pulls the double upset, we might see them lose 3 or 4 games over the next 2 weeks, which would kind of rattle, and it would definitely shake up the playoff picture, because you would probably see. Yeah, okay. I was going to say you might see ABO versus Rank Thugs potentially before the finals, but that feels like, at least this moment, that feels like that will be the finals. And then Rektiles, I really like Rektiles. I think their defense is really, really good. So like that's not going to be a walk in the park either, especially if you've been reeling. I mean, the other thing is though they might just sweep everyone or split or whatever, and then they're like, yeah, we're fine. So it could be much ado about nothing. This team is definitely making the playoffs. I'd be stunned if they didn't. But I did want to highlight the rest of their schedule is going to be kind of grueling.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Last but not least, Bright. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Oh, awards.
We got an awards race. So let's do this in reverse. So rookie of the season, my top pick, I guess, would be Ballerina. I didn't really see many other rookies, so she might win it by default. But also, she's having a heck of a season. So
Yeah, I can't really think of any other rookies. So it'd
if
probably
Grumpy
be
were there on
Ballerina.
the defensive end, though, I guess they do it for like both positions, which is kind of, I say
Yeah.
boo to that. But but if you had to choose between the two, do you pick Ballerina or do you pick Grumpy?
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah,
I think I definitely have to go Grumpy, even though Ballerina has all the stats
yeah,
that people usually vote on stats. So
yeah.
I think if it came down to it, she would win it, but I think Grumpy would deserve it more.
Yeah, I'm actually like kind of bummed because like most people just look at so after covering last season, I did a lot of oh, like the gasp is this and blah blah blah, and I started to realize like that stuff doesn't really matter, which I kind of knew already because like my gasp was never like sensational. It was always like 7 point whatever, and as we all discussed earlier, I'm better than Ego, so
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
so I didn't put as much value into that stuff, and then when I released like my minors awards race, I think at the time I had showed a couple people, and maybe you may have been one of them, so you can vouch. But I was like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm picking Ballerina as like the MVP,
can
and
confirm.
yeah, and a lot of people were saying like, no, that's a bad pick, and I was like, no, she's definitely like she's really good. So I'm glad to see her carry that into this season. However, I would agree with you. I would still pick Grumpy, mainly because Grumpy and I won a Nooper together, and he's my favorite guy ever. He's amazing. But his play is one of those types of play that is just under celebrated.
Yeah.
Um, if you watch him, he just makes. I can't tell you the amount of times, at least playing with him, I was like, they're out past four. It's going to be a cat. And Grumpy's like, nah, I got him. Like, oh, all right, cool. Um, Glue Ball, who are you thinking for that? This is, I guess, this would be similar to the FU Gasp award.
Oh, I see. This is like a Grumpy player, so
Yeah,
I'd have to think about it more. But right now, I'd probably say Grumpy, just like knowing nothing else. Maybe Easy. He hasn't played the whole season, so
yeah,
maybe not. But I think Grumpy, Easy, those kind of players. I'm just looking through the other ones.
yeah.
I think one of those for sure.
Yeah, I think so. Off the top of my head, it's kind of hard to pick. Maybe Ginny, just because he's not going to be like considered one of the best balls, so to speak. Um, I think he'll be left off, but like he's super valuable to 877. So,
Hmm.
uh, and also like we have to talk about Mike Dino. Doesn't matter that he doesn't play in majors. Doesn't matter.
I think he's definitely the minor glue ball for sure.
He's undoubtedly the miners glue ball. My boy Mike Dino. He's going to go back to back in the Mooper. It's going to be insane. Defensive ball of the season. It seems like Mex is the
Yes.
runaway. But I mean, the issue with that is like it's such a bummer because there's so many players that are having great seasons. Like Doris is having a great season. Curry's
Hmm.
having a good season. Mentioned Wayne earlier. His stats aren't quite there because he missed a little bit of time, but he's having a great. Well, I don't know, Wayne. Maybe you're not having a great season. No, Wayne's having a good season, or if not a great season. So there's a lot of really good defensive balls this season, and you see the cap numbers are way down from last season. Um, so it's while Mex is just dominating, it's also kind of disappointing to say, oh man, like we don't get to really celebrate all these really good defensive players because Mex has been so insane. Like, um, so I guess that was me kind of giving him a little shout out if we can. Offensive ball of the season. Who you got here? This is a good one.
Also, this usually goes to just like the best stats. I think
Mhm.
Bottom Lie is like so far ahead of anyone else. He'd probably win it right now. And I don't think it's gonna change. I think their team is gonna keep like putting on these like dominant performances.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, out of anyone in the top 5, maybe even the top 10, I think you could say Bottom Line is better than all of them too, even if his stats weren't good.
Yep.
So I'd probably say Bottom Line is gonna win it. I don't see. Okay, then he's 13 caps behind him. He could
Yeah.
catch up, but probably not.
I don't think he'll catch up. There's just too many caps to make up. His hold has been great, as has GG's. He's been kind of under talked about. That is GG. He's having a pretty decent season with hold and caps. It's just the team is at 3-0-0-5, so they need to pick it up in order to be in that discussion. In my opinion, I think there's other players who disagree and say the stats are so good. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but you're like 1-0-0-7, so who cares? Like,
Yeah,
I don't care about your stats. If you have a 10 gasp or whatever, good for you, but you're losing. Like, get it together. So
I think Megatron has a good chance at it too.
yeah,
Maybe like second.
he was my
His
sleeper
team's doing
pick.
well.
Another one of my sleeper picks, depending. So like this is an interesting season because like last season it felt like there was a pretty clear runaway. With you, it's so weird to talk about
Okay.
because you're so good.
Uh-huh.
And you know there was like maybe a week or two where it was like, oh, somebody else is playing pretty well, but like for the most part, it was like, no, Bright is,
Okay.
you know, he's playing great. This season, I feel like a lot of it depends on that home stretch. I think there's a lot of names that can be discussed on the offensive side and the defensive side. Ball don't lie, definitely offensive player. Will be in the discussion, but like I think Pro Tag maybe looked at a little more if 877 continues to do well.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I think because like not a lot of people expected them to be great.
hmm
In the same respect, I think Ginny on the other side of the ball because he's been there the whole, or the Tiles, I should say, he's been there the whole season. So maybe Ginny is. Oh wait, are we just talking about offense now, or are we talking about most valuable?
I think offense still, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. Don't worry about Ginny. He doesn't do that. I think if they turn it around and start to do better, and Mr. Hat gets a little more captures, he could probably have his name in that discussion as well.
Yeah, if we're going off just like the best player you have would definitely be there.
Yeah,
But the stats are just like so bad.
yeah, yeah. It's and the same thing with GG. If they start winning, if they go on like a 5-game, they win 5 of their next 6. I think people say, oh, yeah, GG should be considered offensive ball of the year.
Yep. If he gets hold leader back,
Yeah,
could definitely happen.
or maybe your boy Sherab, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, sorry. I had to prod that needle because I saw his name as both on hold leader and captures leader.
Yeah,
That would
stats are up
actually be a
there.
pretty interesting pick, though. Not Shara, but if people actually recognized what Goober was doing
hmm
and they gave him offensive ball for like adjusting his style so to assist and make sure they were getting those wins, I'd be pretty thrilled with that.
hmm
And then MVP, I think when you have the mix, so I feel like if you're in the MVP discussion or you win MVP, you shouldn't be allowed to win offensive or defensive ball. Because
Really?
like it's kind of, in my opinion, it's just kind of like, yeah, like you clearly if you're the MVP, you're probably one of the best players on that side.
Yeah.
So I don't like it's just kind of like filling up the hardware.
I guess it does like if
Yeah,
you're like not one of the most valuable, but we're talking like the best offensive player, and then they also happen to be the most valuable player. I don't see why not.
yeah. There was a long debate I had actually last season. I almost put Goober over you for offensive player for that reason,
Oh yeah.
and then I took it back because I couldn't imagine how much Tantru would talk about how great he was as an offensive support player. Just kidding, Tantru. You're the best. Yeah, I think from that discussion though, like it's going to be most of the same players we had mentioned, like probably Ball Don't Lie. Is there a situation you see if Ballerina starts to lap BDL or Ball Don't Lie rather in caps? If she gets ahead of him and she has like say 50 by season's end. He has like 42. Do they give it to a rookie, or are they just like, no, that's not going to happen?
I think for offensive it could happen, but I think for MVB it would go for Mex on that team. And
Oh,
then
that's right. Yeah, Mex is still on that team.
I think it's possible that one of them gets like second or third, but I don't think it's very likely. I think
Yeah.
usually they'll give like one per team.
Yeah. So for that respect, if you want to go through quickly, at least
Hmm.
everybody in the playoffs now, who would you pick as an MVP?
I think I'd have Mex one,
Mhm.
and then I was gonna do like a ranked pugs MVP, but like okay, then I don't think he's been that like so far ahead of anyone on his team. So I don't think they're just like too balanced to have like a clear MVP. So I don't know
For
about
Holdin
that
8?
for ranked bugs.
Oh, for Rank Thugs, sorry. Yeah.
Same with K-poppers, I think. Like
Yeah.
I think Megatron has been their star player, but I don't think he's been like severely better than anyone on his team.
Yeah.
Same with like a lot of these players. I think, or a lot of the teams. I think Hat could have a good MVP shot
Yeah.
if he leads his team a little bit better. Doris definitely could.
Do you think Ginny?
Yeah, I was gonna go back to Ginny.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't watched any of his games, so I couldn't say. But if you keep vouching for him, so I think if he's carrying his team, he definitely could be in there.
I will say this: I've also not watched any of 877 Cap stats because I've seen maybe I forget. I did like I announced maybe half of their first game against Smoothie Pings, I want to say, but maybe that's wrong, or Smoothie Ping.
Yeah.
But the only other clip I've seen is Bamboozler
Oh
bamboozling
yeah,
himself, which was a great title of that clip.
the bamboozle.
Yeah, so everything I'm seeing is based off stats, and then based off what I'm hearing,
Yeah.
that he's playing really, really well. So I would probably want to see some of those games before voting for him, but it
Hmm.
doesn't mean he shouldn't be in the discussion. I would assume also this is another team I haven't really watched much of, but Doris from Rektiles. I feel
Yeah,
like,
I think Doris is probably the most valuable player on the team by like a decent margin.
yeah.
He usually gets knobbed pretty high on this.
So for your list right now, I'm hearing Mex. Uh,
I'd say like Mex Hat. I guess you could put bottom line there since I don't have that many other ones.
yeah, Mex Hat, Ball Don't Lie, Doris,
Doris up there, yeah.
and then Ginny, but it's like with a question mark because we're not sure. We haven't. But he's in the conversation, which is huge.
I think
Center
I'd
of
put
Attention.
GG
Do
in there
you?
too.
What's that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think I'd put GG up there.
Yeah, I think like for GG, in order to be up there for me, like it's just my rule of thumb. You got to finish at 500, and they're close,
Hmm.
but you got to be at 500. And
Yeah.
if you're not, like, it's just for me. And people are like, that's so stupid. Oh, Jam. This is my voice for people that I think are dumb sometimes. Oh, Jam, these Gatsby's are perfect 10. He's clearly the best player. You're like, yeah, but like they didn't make the playoffs. Like I don't.
No, yeah.
When's the last time that like you gave in any major sport an MVP player to a player that didn't make the playoff? You know what I mean? Like it's just it doesn't happen, and it shouldn't happen because they
Yeah.
may be the most valuable, but like that usually means you should be able to drag your team to the playoffs. So
Yep.
yeah. So in that respect, I think Ishii should
You
be
think
in.
she's up there?
Sorry, Ishii. It's just because you totally left the team. Oh, I'm having too
Get
much
him
fun
on the
with this.
sheet.
Get him on the sheet. All right, I think that's it. I think our first episode's done. It was a lot longer than expected, but I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too.
I did.
Yeah, cool, man. All right, then we're good. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Oh, yeah, sure. That stuff. Cheers.